The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as High Commander Velthar stepped forward. His massive form towered over the other delegates, his forearms crossed in a gesture of absolute authority. Behind him, holographic displays showed the military might of the Valtari Empire. Thousands of warships conquered worlds and subjugated species. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood alone at the human delegation podium. He was a small figure compared to most aliens in the room, but his face remained calm. He had been Earth's voice in this council for 12 years. He knew how this game was played. Velthar's voice boomed through the chamber. The Valtari Empire has been patient with humanity. Too patient. Your species controls 17 colony worlds in prime territory that should belong to more established powers. We demand that Earth surrender 12 of these colonies immediately. You will also accept Valtari military oversight of your remaining worlds. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Some species looked sympathetic to humanity. Others seemed pleased. Many simply looked away, remembering when similar demands had been made of them. Hyunwoo did not flinch. And if Earth refuses? Velthar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the walls. Then we will take them by force. We have assembled a fleet of 4,000 warships. Our intelligence shows that Earth maintains a single defense fleet of 200 ships stationed at your moon. The mathematics are simple, Ambassador. You cannot win. The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates protested the threat. Others nodded in agreement. The council chair, an ancient being named Torval, raised his hand for silence. Ambassador Hyunwoo, Torval said wearily. The council cannot intervene in military disputes between member species. This is your decision to make. What is Earth's response? Hyunwoo looked at Velthar for a long moment. Then he smiled slightly. I request 48 hours to consult with my government. Velthar sneered. Take your time, human. My fleet begins its journey to your colonies tomorrow. When you are ready to surrender, we will be waiting. The session ended. As delegates filed out, many approached Hyunwoo with quiet words of sympathy. A few offered to help negotiate better terms. One elderly ambassador from a species that had been conquered decades ago simply touched Hyunwoo's shoulder and said, I am sorry. We know how this ends. But Hyunwoo noticed something else. Ambassador Kreetal of the Sorn Confederacy caught his eye and gave the smallest of nods. The Sorn were one of the few species that had never been bullied by the Valtari. Kreetal's expression was not one of pity. It was curiosity. Hyunwoo returned to his private quarters and activated a secure communication channel. The face of President Ji-young appeared on his screen within seconds. I watched the whole session, Ji-young said. Her voice was steady. Velthar thinks he has us cornered. He has done his homework, Hyunwoo replied. Their intelligence is accurate. They know about our Luna-based defense fleet, 200 ships. They have seen our patrol routes, our supply lines, our colony defenses. Everything we have shown them for the past 150 years. Ji-young's expression did not change, and they believe that is all we have. Yes, Madam President. Then it is time to bring Fleet Admiral Taeho into this conversation. The screen split. A third face appeared, a stern man in a military uniform decorated with medals and insignia. Admiral Taeho had commanded Earth's military forces for 20 years. Very few people knew the full extent of what he commanded. Admiral, Ji-young said, give us the current status. Taeho pulled up a data display. The first defense fleet at Luna Base is ready. Captain Sangmi has maintained perfect visibility. The Valtari reconnaissance drones have been watching them for months. 200 ships exactly as expected. Maintenance schedules, crew rotations, training exercises, all conducted in plain sight. And the others? Hyunwoo asked quietly. Taeho's face remained neutral, but his eyes gleamed. The 2nd through 11th fleets are positioned and ready. They have been for 3 years. Not a single Valtari probe has detected them. Total combined strength, 2,200 warships. Hyunwoo let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. They think we have 1 fleet. We actually have 11. Correct, Taeho said. Project Phantom Fleet has succeeded beyond our expectations. Every ship built in hidden shipyards. Every crew trained in classified facilities. Every supply route disguised as civilian traffic. The Valtari have no idea what is waiting for them. Ji-young leaned forward. Admiral, I need you to understand what I'm about to order. If we reveal our true strength, there is no going back. The galaxy will know that Earth has been deceiving them for over a century. Some will call us liars. Others will call us dangerous. Are we ready for that? Tejo nodded. Madam President, we built these fleets for exactly this moment. Humanity learned our lesson from history. We watched the Council for decades before we joined. We saw what happened to species that showed their full strength too early. They became targets. They were conquered, absorbed, or destroyed, so we chose a different path. We appeared weak while we grew strong. The Valtari are moving 4,000 ships toward our colonies, Ji Young said. If we fight with only our visible fleet, we will lose. If we reveal our hidden fleets, we will shock the galaxy. What are our chances of victory? With all 11 fleets coordinated? Tejo allowed himself a small smile. Madam President, we will not just defeat them. We will horrify them. Hyunwoo spoke up. There is a political consideration. If we destroy the entire Valtari fleet, we may create a power vacuum. Other aggressive species might try to fill that void. We need to defeat them decisively but leave them alive enough to maintain regional stability. Agreed, Ji Young said. Admiral Tejo, your orders are as follows. Deploy our fleets as you see fit. Defend our colonies. Show the Valtari that Earth is not prey. But do not annihilate them completely. We are not conquerors. We are defenders. Understood, Madam President. Ambassador Hyunwoo, return to the Council in 48 hours. Tell them that Earth refuses the Valtari demands. Tell them that we will defend our sovereignty with all available forces. And when they ask how many forces we have, Ji Young paused, her expression hardening. Tell them the truth. All of it. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo sat alone in his quarters thinking about the storm that was about to break. For 150 years, humanity had played the role of the minor species. Polite, cooperative, limited. It had been a careful performance, designed to keep Earth safe while they built their strength in secret. But now the performance was over. In space stations hidden throughout human territory, fleet commanders received their orders. Ships that had been dark and silent for years powered up their engines. Crews that had trained in secret prepared for their first real battle. Weapon systems that the galaxy had never seen were armed and ready. Captain Sang-mi stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable, at Luna Base. She had commanded the visible fleet for 5 years, always knowing that 10 more fleets waited in the shadows. Her crew did not know yet. They would soon. She watched the distant stars and thought about the Valtari fleet that was coming. They expected an easy victory. They expected 200 human ships to scatter or surrender. They were about to learn that humanity did not scare easily, and they were about to discover that Earth had not been building 1 fleet for the past century. Earth had been building 11. Part 2. The First Revelation. The mining colony on Kepler 442b was home to 30,000 humans. They extracted rare minerals from the planet's crust and shipped them back to Earth's industrial centers. It was peaceful work, far from the politics of the Galactic Council. But today that peace was about to end. The Valtari Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 4,000 warships filled the space around the planet like a swarm of metal insects. Each ship bristled with weapons. Each ship carried a crew trained for conquest. High Commander Velthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Overwhelming Fist. He watched the human colony below with satisfaction. Intelligence reports showed minimal defenses. A few orbital platforms, maybe 20 patrol ships. This would be over in hours. Scan the system, he ordered. Find their defense fleet. His sensor officer worked quickly. Commander, I am detecting human warships at the edge of the system. Counting now. 200 ships. They match the profile of Earth's Luna Base fleet. Velthar nodded. Exactly as expected. The humans had pulled their only fleet here to defend the colony. Brave but stupid. Open a communication channel. The view screen flickered. A human woman appeared. She wore a military uniform with captain's insignia. Her face was calm, almost bored. I am Captain Sang-mi of the Earth Defense Force, she said. You are in violation of human territory. Leave now, Velthar laughed. Captain, I am High Commander Velthar of the Valtari Empire. I have 4,000 ships. You have 200. Do you really want to fight? Yes, Sang-mi said simply. Then let me demonstrate what happens to those who oppose us. Velthar turned to his weapons officer. Target the uninhabited moon. Full barrage. Show them our power. 300 Valtari ships fired simultaneously. Energy beams and missiles converged on the small moon orbiting Kepler 442b. The moon did not stand a chance. It exploded in a flash of light and debris, reduced to dust in seconds. The human colonists below watched in terror. Some scrambled for evacuation shuttles. Others simply stared at the sky, knowing they had nowhere to run. Sang-Mi's expression did not change. Impressive. Now let me show you ours. All ships, battle formation Delta, engage at will. The 200 human ships suddenly accelerated. They moved faster than Velthar expected. Much faster. Within seconds they had closed half the distance to his fleet. All ships return fire. Velthar ordered. The Valtari fleet fired. Thousands of missiles and energy beams filled space. It should have been overwhelming. It should have destroyed the human fleet in the opening salvo, but the human ships twisted and dodged with incredible agility. Their point defense systems shot down incoming missiles with frightening accuracy. The few hits that landed seemed to barely slow them down. Then the human ships fired back. Velthar had expected conventional weapons. Lasers, missiles, plasma cannons, the standard armaments of galactic warfare. Instead, the human ships fired metal slugs accelerated to enormous speeds. Kinetic railguns. Simple, brutal, and devastatingly effective. The first Valtari ship to be hit simply came apart. The metal slug punched through its shields like they did not exist, tore through the hull and exited the other side. The ship broke into pieces, atmosphere venting into space. Shields are ineffective against kinetic weapons, his tactical officer shouted. They are moving too slow for our shields to deflect. More human ships fired. More Valtari ships died. The elegant battle formation that Velthar had arranged began to fall apart as ships tried to evade the deadly railgun fire. But Velthar still had numbers on his side. 4,000 ships against 200. Even with losses, he would win through sheer weight of fire. All ships focus fire. Concentrate on individual targets. Overwhelm their defenses. The strategy worked. The first human ship exploded under concentrated fire from 50 Valtari vessels. Then another. Then another. They were tough, but they were not invincible. 3 hours into the battle, Velthar assessed the situation. He had lost 800 ships. The humans had lost 23. The exchange ratio was terrible but acceptable. He still had more than 3,000 ships. They had fewer than 200. Then Captain Sang-Mi said something that made Velthar's blood run cold. This is Captain Sang-Mi to Fleet Command. First Defense Fleet requesting backup. Sending coordinates now. Backup? What backup? Earth only had one fleet. Velthar watched his sensors in growing horror as new signatures appeared throughout the system. Ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at multiple points. Not just a few ships, hundreds of them. 200 ships appeared near the colony. Then another 200 appeared behind the Valtari formation. Then another 200 appeared at the system's edge. Counting new contacts, his sensor officer said, voice rising in panic. 200 ships! 400! 600. They are everywhere. Velthar stared at the tactical display. The humans had not sent their only fleet. They had sent multiple fleets. How many fleets did Earth have? A new voice came over the communication channel. An older man in an admiral's uniform appeared on the view screen. High Commander Velthar, I am Fleet Admiral Tejo of the Earth Defense Force. You are now facing 6 of our fleets. That is 1,200 ships. You have approximately 3,000 ships remaining. I will give you one chance to retreat with your surviving forces. If you continue this attack, we will destroy your entire armada. Velthar looked at the tactical display again. His ships were now surrounded. The humans had positioned their fleets perfectly, cutting off his escape routes and creating overlapping fields of fire. If he continued fighting, it would be a slaughter, but retreating would be humiliating. The Valtari Empire did not retreat. They conquered. They dominated. Another 30 Valtari ships exploded as human railguns found their marks. Velthar made his decision. All ships fall back. Retreat to the jump point, go. The Valtari fleet broke formation and fled. The human ships did not pursue aggressively. They simply watched as the mighty armada that had come to conquer retreated in disorder. Captain Sang-Mi stood on her bridge, watching the enemy flee. Her ship had taken heavy damage. 43 crew members had died, but they had held the line long enough for the other fleets to arrive. All ships stand down to alert status, she ordered. Begin search and rescue operations for survivors, ours and theirs. Lieutenant Dong Hyun, a young officer who had just experienced his first real battle, spoke up. Captain, we won. We actually won. Sang-Mi looked at him. Her expression was tired. We survived, Lieutenant. Winning would have been them never attacking in the first place. Now count our dead and tell me if this feels like victory." The young lieutenant fell silent. Across the system, the 6 human fleets began recovery operations. Medical ships tended to the wounded. Engineers worked to repair damaged vessels. And on every ship, crews who had trained in secret for years finally understood why. Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Prometheus. He composed a message to be sent to Earth and to every human colony. To all citizens of Earth and her colonies. Today, the Valtari Empire learned that humanity is not prey. For over a century, we have prepared for this day. We built not 1 fleet, but 11. We did this in secret because we learned from watching other species fall. We learned that showing strength too early makes you a target, so we appeared weak while we grew strong. Today, we revealed 6 of our fleets. The Valtari came with 4,000 ships. They left with fewer than 1,000. This is not a cause for celebration. This is a cause for reflection. We did not want this war. We did not seek this conflict. But we will always defend our freedom. Let the galaxy know, Earth is ready. The message spread quickly. Within hours, every species in the Galactic Council knew what had happened. Humanity, the species that had seemed so limited, so weak, had just destroyed 3/4 of the mighty Valtari Armada, and they had done it with only 6 of their fleets. The question on everyone's mind was simple. If Earth had 11 fleets, where were the other 5? And more importantly, what else had humanity been hiding? Part 3. The Conspiracy Unveiled. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Delegates from 70 species shouted questions, accusations, and demands. Some banged their appendages on their podiums. Others made threatening gestures. The chamber had not seen this level of disorder in 50 years. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Hyunwoo. He waited patiently for the noise to die down. He had expected this reaction. Council Chair Torval finally restored order. Silence. "We will have order in this chamber." His voice boomed through the speakers. Slowly, the delegates settled down. A delegate from the Kresh Commonwealth spoke first. "Ambassador Hyunwoo, your species has deceived this council for over a century. You claim to have limited military forces. You presented yourselves as a minor power. Now we discover you have 11 fleets. 11! How do we know you are not planning to conquer us all?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Fear was spreading. Species that had ignored humanity now saw them as a threat. Hyunwoo remained calm. "Delegate Kresh, may I ask you a question? How many military ships does the Commonwealth maintain?" The Kresh delegate hesitated. "That is classified information." "Exactly," Hyunwoo said. "Every species in this chamber maintains classified military capabilities. Earth simply maintained ours more carefully than most. We did not lie. We simply chose not to volunteer information about our full strength." "But why?" another delegate asked. "Why hide your power?" Hyunwoo looked around the chamber. "Because we studied history. This council's history. Let me tell you what we learned. 120 years ago, the Silthar Republic joined this council. They were an advanced species with a powerful military. They proudly displayed their strength. Within 10 years, a coalition of nervous species had declared them a threat. War broke out. The Silthar were destroyed. Their worlds are now divided among the victors. The chamber fell silent. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. The Silthar incident was not something they liked to remember. 80 years ago, Hyunwoo continued, the Meros Alliance made the same mistake. They showed their full military might too early. They were conquered and absorbed. 60 years ago, the Talvor did the same. Same result. We saw the pattern. Species that display strength become targets. Species that appear weak are left alone until they are needed. So we chose to appear weak while we grew strong. We did this to survive. Ambassador Kretal of the Sorn Confederacy stood. The human speaks truth. My government suspected Earth was hiding its capabilities. We respected their strategy. It showed wisdom. Wisdom, a Valtari delegate shouted. He had replaced Velthar, who was now in disgrace. It shows deception. How can we trust any human claims now? Hyunwoo turned to face the Valtari delegate. Trust? Your empire demanded we surrender 70% of our colonies. You brought 4,000 warships to enforce that demand. And you ask us about trust? The Valtari delegate sat down, face flushed with anger and shame. President Ji Young's image appeared on the chamber's main screen. She had requested to address the council directly. Members of the Galactic Council, I am President Ji Young of Earth. I will explain our actions clearly. When humanity first made contact with your civilization, we were excited. We hoped to join a community of peaceful species working together for mutual benefit. But as we studied the Council's history, we became afraid. We saw that military strength attracted aggression. We saw that powerful newcomers were viewed as threats. So we made a decision. We would build our military in secret. We would maintain a visible defense fleet but hide the majority of our strength. We called it Project Phantom Fleet. A holographic display activated showing Earth's shipyards. 120 years ago, we began construction. We built shipyards and remote systems. We trained crews in classified facilities. We developed new weapons technologies in secret research stations. Every ship, every weapon, every system was built away from prying eyes. We spent enormous resources on this project. Resources that could have been used for civilian development. But we deemed it necessary for survival. The display showed the 11 fleets. We now maintain 11 fleets. 2,200 warships total. Each fleet specializes in different warfare types: defense, assault, carriers, siege, fast attack, stealth, logistics, support, experimental weapons, rapid response, and training. Together they form a complete military force capable of defending Earth and all our colonies. A delegate from a small species called out, "But Madam President, with such power, what stops you from conquering others?" Ji Young's expression hardened. "Our principles stop us. Earth has been conquered before. In our own history, powerful nations subjugated weaker ones. We know the pain of being colonized. We know the humiliation of foreign troops on our soil. We swore we would never do that to others. Our fleets are for defense only. We will protect our sovereignty and our allies, but we will not be invaders. This is our solemn promise." Counselor Mei Ri, a human scientist, was called to testify next. She explained the technology behind Earth's ships. "Our weapons and defenses are based on principles that other species overlooked. Kinetic weapons instead of energy weapons. Speed and maneuverability instead of heavy armor. Point defense systems that can track thousands of targets. We did not invent new physics. We simply applied old principles in new ways.
Any species could develop these technologies.
We simply focused on them while others did not." The session continued for hours. Delegates asked questions about specific fleet capabilities, deployment locations, and command structures. Hyunwoo and Mei Ri answered what they could while maintaining operational security. Finally, Torval called for a recess. As delegates filed out, Hyunwoo noticed something troubling. The chamber had divided into 3 clear groups. One group approached him with respect. They understood Earth's position and supported their right to self-defense. The Sorn Confederacy led this faction. Several other species that had been threatened by larger powers joined them. A second group glared at him with hostility. The remaining Valtari delegates led this faction. They were joined by other militaristic species that saw Earth's hidden strength as a threat to their own ambitions. The third group simply looked terrified. They were smaller species caught between 2 potential superpowers. They did not know which side to support. Back in his quarters, Hyunwoo met with Commander Bo-Ra, Earth's chief intelligence officer in Council Space. She brought troubling news. "Ambassador, we have intercepted communications between several Valtari-aligned species. They are discussing a coalition. A military alliance specifically aimed at Earth." Hyunwoo rubbed his tired eyes. "How many species?" "At least 12. Maybe more. They are calling it the Unity Armada. Their goal is to force Earth's disarmament by overwhelming force." "How many ships?" Bora pulled up data on her tablet. "Current estimates suggest they could assemble 15,000 warships. Maybe more if additional species join. 15,000 ships, against Earth's 11 fleets and 2,200 ships. The numbers were not good." "What is their timeline?" Hyunwoo asked. 6 months. They need time to coordinate logistics and command structures. That gives us time to prepare." Hyunwoo sent an urgent message to Earth. President Ji Young and Admiral Taeho convened an emergency meeting. 15,000 ships, Taeho said thoughtfully. "Our fleet commanders have trained for this scenario. We can win, but casualties will be heavy. Can we call for allies?" Ji Young asked. Hyunwoo shook his head. "The council is divided. Some species support us, but they will not commit their military forces. They are afraid. If they fight alongside us and we lose, they will be punished. If they fight alongside us and we win, they fear we will become too powerful. So we stand alone," Ji Young said. "Yes, Madam President. Then we prepare for war. Admiral, position all 11 fleets for maximum effectiveness. Commander Bora, I want intelligence on every ship in their coalition. Strengths, weaknesses, command structures, everything. Ambassador Hyunwoo, continue diplomatic efforts. If we can split their coalition before fighting starts, we improve our chances. The meeting ended. Each person returned to their duties knowing that a massive war was coming. In the Valtari home system, the former High Commander Velthar watched the fleet assembly with grim satisfaction. He had been demoted after his defeat, but military officials had quietly asked for his expertise. He knew how humans fought. He had survived their attack. Do not underestimate them, he warned the new coalition leaders. Their ships are fast and their weapons are powerful. They fight with coordination and discipline. If you think this will be easy, you will die quickly. But the coalition leaders were confident. 15,000 ships against 2,200. The mathematics seemed clear. They did not know that humanity had spent a century preparing for exactly this kind of fight. They did not know that every human fleet commander had studied historical battles and developed tactics specifically for fighting against overwhelming numbers. They did not know that Earth scientists had been developing new weapons, waiting for the right moment to deploy them. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's 11 fleets were not just numerous. They were dangerous in ways no one expected. War was 6 months away. Both sides prepared, and somewhere in the deep void between stars. Part 4. The storm gathers. 6 months passed like a countdown to doomsday. Both sides prepared for the largest military conflict the galaxy had seen in a generation. In the Valtari home system, warships from 12 species assembled into the Unity Armada. The gathered fleet was enormous. 15,000 warships filled the space around the Valtari homeworld. Each species brought its own tactics, its own weapons, its own command structure. Coordination was difficult, but their leaders were determined. Former High Commander Velthar walked through the command ship's corridors. He had been reinstated as a tactical advisor. The coalition leaders did not like him, but they needed his experience. He was the only commander who had fought humans and survived. They will not fight like we expect, he told the assembled admirals in a strategy meeting. They do not line up and trade fire. They move in coordinated patterns. They target weak points. They use speed and precision instead of brute force. One admiral, a proud warrior from the Kresh Commonwealth, laughed. We have 15,000 ships. They have 2,000.
Speed and precision mean nothing against such numbers. Velthar wanted to argue, but he said nothing.
They would learn soon enough. In human space, Admiral Taeho stood in the command center of Luna Base. Holographic displays showed all 11 fleets positioned across human territory. Each fleet commander appeared on separate screens. Fleet status report, Taeho ordered. The commanders responded one by one. Vice Admiral Kyung-soo of the 2nd Fleet spoke first. Heavy assault fleet ready. 300 ships, all railgun systems at maximum capacity. We will be your hammer, Admiral. Rear Admiral Haewon of the 3rd Fleet followed. Carrier operations ready. 200 ships plus 4,000 fighter craft. Our pilots are eager to prove themselves. Vice Admiral Jin Seok of the 4th Fleet gave his report. Siege fleet positioned. 150 ships equipped with long-range mass drivers. We can provide covering fire from extreme distances. Rear Admiral Yuna of the 5th Fleet smiled. Fast attack fleet ready. 250 ships. Fastest vessels in the fleet. We will hit them where they are weak and be gone before they can respond. The reports continued. Each fleet had trained for this moment. Each commander knew their role. Commodore Jae-hwan commanded the defensive specialists of the 6th Fleet. Vice Admiral Sora led the stealth and intelligence ships of the 7th Fleet. Rear Admiral Dae-jung managed the logistics and support vessels of the 8th Fleet. Commodore Minji oversaw the experimental weapons division of the 9th Fleet. Vice Admiral Won-shik led the reserve rapid response force of the 10th Fleet, and Captain Sang-mi, promoted after her success at Kepler 442b, now commanded the 11th Fleet, which handled training and technology integration. All fleets report ready, Taeho said. We have chosen New Horizon Colony as our defensive position. It is strategically important to both us and the enemy. They will come there. We will be waiting. Lieutenant Subin, Taeho's daughter, served as a fighter pilot in the 3rd Fleet. She knew her father had chosen New Horizon deliberately. It was a populated colony with 2 million civilians. The Unity Armada would expect humans to fight desperately to protect their people. They were right. Diplomatic efforts had failed completely. Ambassador Hyunwoo had tried to negotiate, but the Unity Armada's demands were absolute. Total human disarmament and surrender of all colonies except Earth itself. It was unacceptable. 3 days before the expected battle, human colonists were evacuated from border worlds. Millions of people boarded transport ships, leaving their homes behind. They trusted their military to protect them. That trust weighed heavily on every human soldier. Commander Bora's intelligence network had provided detailed information about the Unity Armada. She knew their fleet composition, their command structure, even their battle plans. But the numbers were still daunting. 15,000 ships against 2,200. We need force multipliers, Taeho said during a private meeting with his senior commanders. We cannot win through attrition. We must use tactics and technology they do not expect. Commodore Minji of the 9th Fleet spoke up. The experimental weapons are ready, Admiral. Quantum disruptor torpedoes. They phase through shields using quantum tunneling effects. We have been testing them for 5 years. They work. How many do we have? 2,000 torpedoes. Enough for one major engagement, Taeho nodded. We will use them at the critical moment. What else? Vice Admiral Sora of the 7th Fleet added. My stealth ships have been positioned near New Horizon for 3 days. The enemy does not know we are there. We can strike from behind when they least expect it. Good, we will use every advantage. This is not about honor. This is about survival. The meeting ended. Commanders returned to their fleets. And across human space, 2 million military personnel prepared for battle. They checked their equipment. They said prayers or words of encouragement to each other. They thought about their families, their homes, their reasons for fighting. On the civilian side, Counselor Mei Ri worked desperately to maintain support among neutral species. Some had promised to provide medical aid and humanitarian assistance regardless of who won. It was not military support, but it was something. President Ji Young gave an address broadcast to every human colony. To all citizens of Earth and her colonies. Tomorrow we face the largest military threat in our history. 15,000 enemy warships approach our territory. Our military stands ready with all 11 fleets. I will not lie to you. This will be difficult. We will suffer losses. But I believe in our people. I believe in our military. And I believe that we will prevail. We did not choose this war, but we will finish it. Stay strong. Stay united. And trust in those who defend us. The night before battle, Admiral Taeho walked through the corridors of his flagship, the Prometheus. He visited different sections, speaking with crew members. A young engineer asked him, Admiral, what if we lose? Taeho put a hand on the young man's shoulder. Then we lose fighting for something that matters. But I do not intend to lose. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be hard. Across all 11 fleets, similar conversations happened. Officers encouraged their crews. Veterans calmed nervous rookies. And everyone prepared for what was coming. Lieutenant Subin sat in her fighter's cockpit running pre-flight checks. Her squadron leader, Commander Jae-won, asked her, You nervous? Yes, sir. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But remember your training. Stay with your wing. Follow orders. We will get through this. Subin thought about her father, commanding the entire fleet from his flagship. She wondered if he was afraid too. Probably, but he would never show it. In the Unity Armada, Velthar stood on the command ship's bridge as they prepared to enter faster-than-light travel. He had argued for caution. He had warned them about human tactics, but the other admirals were confident in their numbers. We jump in 10 minutes, the fleet coordinator announced. All ships report ready. Velthar looked at the tactical display showing 15,000 green dots. It was the largest fleet he had ever seen. Surely it would be enough, but doubt gnawed at him. He had underestimated humans before. What if he was doing it again? At New Horizon Colony, the last civilian transport ships departed. The planet was now defended only by military forces and essential personnel. 2 million colonists had been evacuated in 3 days. It was an impressive logistical achievement. Admiral Taeho watched from his command center as the evacuation completed. All civilians are away, sir, a communication officer reported. Good. Now we can fight without worrying about collateral damage. All fleets assume battle positions. The enemy will be here within the hour. Across human space, 2,200 warships moved into carefully planned positions. Some were visible, waiting in obvious defensive formations. Others were hidden, waiting to strike when the moment was right. The trap was set. The Unity Armada was coming. The Unity Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 15,000 warships filled the space around New Horizon like a metal storm. It was the largest military force assembled in decades. Each species had contributed their best ships and most experienced crews. On the command vessel, Fleet Coordinator Admiral Kresh watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Scan for human forces. The sensor officer worked quickly, detecting human warships, counting. Approximately 2,200 ships. All 11 fleets are here. They are waiting for us. Former High Commander Velthar felt a chill. They are not running. They are not hiding. They brought everything to one battle. Why? But the other Unity Armada admirals were pleased. Excellent. We will destroy their entire military in one engagement. After this, Earth will have no choice but to surrender. Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the enemy fleet arrive. His tactical display showed 15,000 red dots surrounding his 2,200 blue dots. The numbers looked terrible, but numbers were not everything. All fleets confirm ready status, he ordered. One by one, his fleet commanders confirmed. They were ready. Send message to the Unity Armada. Standard terms. One chance to withdraw. The communication went out. The Unity Armada's response was immediate and predictable. Surrender now or be destroyed. Tejo smiled grimly. Understood. All fleets execute Battle Plan Echo 7. Fight well. The battle began. The 1st, 2nd, and 11th fleets formed humanity's visible defensive line, 600 ships positioned between the Unity Armada and New Horizon colony. They looked brave but outnumbered. The Unity Armada's first wave struck with overwhelming force. 3,000 ships advanced, firing everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts filled space. It was a wall of destruction meant to obliterate the human defense. But the human ships moved. They did not hold formation like the Unity Armada expected. Instead, they scattered into small groups, each group moving in coordinated patterns that made them difficult to target. Their point defense systems worked constantly, shooting down incoming missiles with impressive accuracy. Vice Admiral Kyung-Soo commanded the 2nd Fleet, the heavy assault specialists. His ships were built to take damage and return fire with devastating force. All ships focus fire on their capital ships. Railguns, maximum power. The heavy human warships fired their kinetic weapons. Metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds crossed the distance in seconds. The Unity Armada's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, were nearly useless against solid projectiles. Ships began to explode as railgun rounds punched through their hulls. But the Unity Armada had numbers. For every ship they lost, they had 10 more to take its place. The exchange continued for hours. Human ships fell one by one, but they took multiple enemy vessels with them. Rear Admiral Hei-Wan commanded the 3rd Fleet, the carrier specialists. Launch all fighters. Attack pattern Delta. 4,000 small fighter craft launched from carrier ships. They swarmed around the larger Unity Armada vessels like insects, too small and fast for main weapons to target effectively. Each fighter carried missiles designed to exploit weaknesses in capital ship designs. Engine exhausts, sensor arrays, weapon mounting points. The fighters struck these vulnerable spots repeatedly. Lieutenant Subin piloted her fighter through the chaos of battle. Her squadron leader, Commander Jae-Won, called out targets. Subin, enemy cruiser at your 2 o'clock. Its point defense is down. Hit the engines. Subin rolled her fighter, locked onto the target, and fired. Her missiles struck true. The enemy cruiser's engines exploded, leaving it drifting helplessly. But the Unity Armada adapted. They began using smaller ships to screen their capital vessels from fighter attack. The human fighters took heavy losses. Subin watched as friends died around her. But they kept fighting. 6 hours into the battle, the situation looked grim for humanity. They had lost over 300 ships. The Unity Armada had lost approximately 4,000, but they still had 11,000 ships remaining. The numbers game was working in their favor. On the Prometheus, Tejo watched the tactical display carefully. The enemy was confident now. They were pressing their attack, committing more ships to the front lines. Their formation was becoming less organized as individual species pursued their own tactical objectives. Perfect. Signal Vice Admiral Sora. Execute Ghost Protocol. Behind the Unity Armada, hidden in the shadow of New Horizon's largest moon, the 7th Fleet had been waiting for 3 days. 200 stealth ships had positioned themselves perfectly, using the moon's mass to hide their signatures from enemy sensors. Vice Admiral Sora smiled as she gave the order. All ships weapons free. Target their command vessels, fire. The stealth fleet struck without warning. Missiles and railgun fire hit the Unity Armada from behind, targeting the command ships coordinating the attack. In the first 30 seconds, over 100 command vessels were destroyed or disabled. The Unity Armada's coordination collapsed. Species that had been working together suddenly found themselves without clear orders. Some ships stopped firing, waiting for new commands. Others continued attacking independently. The unified fleet became a disorganized mass. Now, Tejo ordered, deploy experimental weapons. Commodore Minji of the Ninth Fleet had been waiting for this moment. Her ships carried 2,000 quantum disruptor torpedoes, weapons that had never been used in combat before. All ships launched torpedoes. Target their capital ships. The torpedoes used quantum tunneling effects to phase through shields and armor. They materialized inside enemy ships and detonated. The Unity Armada's largest vessels began exploding from within, unable to defend against weapons that ignored their defenses. Panic spread through the enemy fleet. These humans had weapons that should not be possible. How could torpedoes phase through solid matter? Vice Admiral Jin Seok of the Fourth Fleet, the siege specialists, added to the chaos. His ships carried massive long-range mass drivers. Target their fleet formations. Fire saturation barrage. From extreme distance, the siege fleet fired hundreds of heavy projectiles into the densest enemy formations. The slow-moving but enormous slugs could not be dodged by the large capital ships. They smashed through multiple vessels, each projectile destroying or crippling several ships as it passed through the formation. The Unity Armada tried to rally. Admiral Kresh, their coordinator, sent urgent orders. All ships, reform defensive positions. Protect the capital ships. Deploy countermeasures. But Rear Admiral Yuna of the Fifth Fleet, the fast attack specialist, did not give them time to organize. All ships hit and run pattern Gamma. Keep them off balance. 250 of humanity's fastest ships struck at different points across the enemy formation. They would appear, fire devastating volleys, then jump away before the enemy could respond effectively. The Unity Armada could not predict where the next attack would come from. Former High Commander Velthar watched the battle with growing horror. This was exactly what he had warned about. The humans were not fighting fairly. They were using tactics, technology, and coordination to overcome numerical disadvantage, and it was working. 12 hours into the battle, the Unity Armada had lost 9,000 ships. The human fleets had lost 600. The exchange ratio was unsustainable for the Unity Armada. Admiral Kresh sent a desperate message to all Unity Armada ships. All vessels, concentrate fire on the human flagship. If we kill their admiral, their coordination will collapse. 3,000 ships turned their weapons toward the Prometheus. Every gun, every missile, every weapon system fired at once. It was enough firepower to destroy a planet. Commodore J. Huan of the Sixth Fleet, the defensive specialists, had been waiting for this moment. Defensive formation Omega. Protect the flagship. 100 ships positioned themselves between the Prometheus and the incoming fire. Their shields overlapped, creating a defensive wall. They absorbed the attack, taking tremendous damage. Many ships were destroyed. But the Prometheus survived. Thank you, Sixth Fleet, Tejo said quietly. Then he gave the order he had been holding back. All remaining fleets, full assault. Break them. The human forces struck with everything they had. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic they had practiced for years. The Unity Armada's formation shattered completely. Individual species began fleeing, no longer willing to die for a losing cause. Admiral Kresh tried to maintain command, but his authority meant nothing to captains who were watching their fleets die. One by one, species withdrew from the battle. The Unity Armada was falling apart. On the Prometheus, a communication officer reported, Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the enemy coordinator. He is requesting terms of surrender. Tejo had been fighting for 18 hours. He was tired. His fleet had suffered terrible losses, but they had won. Put him through. Admiral Kresh appeared on the view screen. He looked defeated. Admiral Tejo, I request permission to withdraw our remaining forces. We surrender. Acknowledged. All surviving Unity Armada vessels will be escorted to the edge of this system. You will leave human space immediately. Any vessel that attempts hostile action will be destroyed. Is that understood? Yes, Admiral. The battle was over. Final casualty reports came in slowly. The Unity Armada had lost over 9,000 ships.